So good evening, everyone. I hope you're all having or starting to have a relaxing winter break. Thank you for taking, okay, there you go. Thank you so much for taking the time to join PM Ready's info session and youth leadership panel. My name is Evelyn Chao, and I'm the founder of PM Ready, a 501(c)(3) nonprofit empowering youth leadership with project management. Welcome to this event. So, we have a rich program planned for you this evening, and first I will be happy to share the story of PM Ready. What is a project? What project management tools have I found useful for my leadership work? Next, I am excited to moderate a panel with three impactful youth leaders. They will all share their project stories and leadership insights. And then I will just introduce some of our current initiatives and invite everyone to collaborate with us for a global impact. Wow, okay. And afterward, we'll have a Q&A session. And at the very end, we will draw a virtual raffle, and three winners will have exciting prizes. So we hope you stay with us until the end. And a kind reminder for those who need service learning hours, you may earn one service learning hour by completing a brief post-event reflection survey. All right, so to begin, right, let's think about what is a project. Okay, next slide. So, according to the Project Management Institute, the largest professional association in the world for project management, a project is defined as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. When I first saw the definition, I asked myself, aren't we doing project every single day? Writing an English paper, playing an orchestra song, performing a show, a dance show, ice skating show, drawing an artwork, or delivering this talk, etc. Projects are all around our life, but do we have to learn project management to do a project? Okay. So as I studied further, I learned that project management has 10 knowledge areas: scope, schedule, cost, quality, procurement, resource, risk, communication, stakeholder, and integration. All of these areas work for the goal. Can the project result create value? For the first time, I started to think about project management in a systematic way. I thought to myself, we may not need project management training to do a project like writing a chem lab report. But if we want to create something not just unique, but also valuable to benefit others, learning project management is essential. So I developed my understanding of a project as such. An awesome project is a temporary endeavor undertaken with others to create a unique product, service, or result for others. So you see, I added a few words to PMI's official definition: awesome, with others, and for others. So as humans, we want to feel awesome and also be awesome. And to do something awesome, we have to work with others and for others. That is project management, a transferable skill that can empower every change maker, regardless of age. So let me share a couple of project management tools that I have found useful. Okay. All right. So before I learned project management, I tended to jump into doing something without thinking through what value I wanted my work to create and also for whom. Nor did I really think much about the potential risks. And after I learned project management, I started to develop the habit of drafting a project charter, even just a brief one, before I kicked off any project. So a project charter is Okay, sorry. A project charter is a foundational document that authorizes the project. It acts as a guide throughout the project's life. The charter you are seeing right now on the screen is the project charter that I developed for PM Ready's inaugural virtual summer camp held this August. So as you can see, it includes several elements. What is the project's name? How will the camp benefit PM Ready, youth, and also our society? What are the specific goals that the camp aims to achieve? Who will be involved in or affected by the camp? What programs or activities does this camp include and provide? What resources are needed to host this camp and achieve its objectives? What is the camp's cost estimate? What are the assumptions, constraints, and potential risks associated with this camp? What deliverables will the camp produce at the end? What are the timeline and key milestones of the camp, etc. So creating this project charter stimulates me to approach any project from a more holistic approach. By looking at this project as a whole, I can understand how different elements interact and affect one another. This holistic approach allows me to convince my potential sponsors or partners of the value of what I am doing so that I can gain their support. Okay, so another project management tool I have found useful is stakeholder mapping. In project management, a stakeholder means anyone who is involved or even just affected by the project. Engaging stakeholders effectively is crucial for a leader to achieve project success. Learning project management helped me to realize I need to analyze my stakeholders if I want to manage them appropriately. Stakeholder mapping helps me develop an inclusive list of stakeholders, determine who my stakeholders are in terms of interest and also influence levels, and how much engagement or communication that they need. By mapping and also prioritizing my stakeholders, I can focus my attention in the most impactful way. All right, so I will conclude my speech by inviting you to watch a 2-minute video of PM Ready's inaugural summer virtual camp. Then we will move on to the youth leadership panel.
As you can see, that one of the things I want to talk about.
Collect and provide oral history at the same time. And
like I can tell that you're kind of
Leading the interview.
That's all right actions and nonprofit work.
Chelsea, Lynn, congratulations. Chloe Dawson, congratulations.
As Evelyn mentioned, my name is Anderson. I'm the Senior Vice President and General Manager of Operations for Federal. For those of you that may be unfamiliar with the studio, we're a global IT services firm, specializing in digital transformation. So let me start out by saying Presidio Federal is honored to sponsor Project Management Youth Camp, and I want to thank Evelyn for giving us this opportunity.
All right. Oh, oh my gosh. Let's not do that. All right, let's go back. Second, let me okay.
As you can see, that
let me just, okay, play from current slide. And then, all right. Okay, so we're back. Okay, so now it is my great pleasure to introduce our three youth leaders today. Sakhi Ganjoo, a high school junior from Texas, the founder of the nonprofit Voices of Disabled Youth. Matthew Bassily, high school senior from New Jersey. 1 week ago, Matthew just received the admission offer from Princeton. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. And also our third panelist is Hafsa Sheikh. She is currently a sophomore at Princeton University. I hope you guys, we're gonna see each other there. She also serves as PM Medi's Director of DEI. So I would like to invite all our speakers to say a quick hello to us before we start the conversation.
Okay, I guess I can start. Thank you to everyone in the chat congratulating me. My name is Matthew, and I am an incoming freshman at Princeton University. I haven't 100% committed, but I most likely will. And yeah, I can't wait to get started into this panel.
Hi everyone, I'm Sakhi and I'm a junior at the Village School located in Houston. And thank you all for taking out of your busy lives, busy schedule time for today and listening to us. And I'm excited for talking to you guys and learning more about you guys as well.
Hi everyone. So I'm Hafsa. I'm currently actually a freshman at Princeton, but next year I'll be a sophomore. And I'm also from Houston, Texas, and I'm really excited to, talk about my experiences and just learn more about PM Ready. PM Ready's mission and how you guys are wanting to learn more about project management. I think that's really amazing. So excited for the panel.
Great. All right, let's go to the first question. Okay, so the first question is, which project holds the most significance for you and what makes it meaningful? Does anyone want to go for that?
I can start it off. Is that good? So I have a 501c3 nonprofit, which is called Voices for Disabled Youth. And basically our mission is to aid disabled youth in the area with promoting themselves, amplifying their voices, talking about different disabilities and stigmas that people have around disabilities, and trying to raise awareness for them. And so recently we just did a toy drive in the spirit of Christmas and the holiday season. So that's the project that holds kind of the most significance for us because we do serve disabled children, but also disabled children who live in socioeconomic areas which they're not that served or their parents can't afford to get them presents or to even, have for them to have really nice things or good experiences. So we got a lot of support from our community and we were able to have over 500 donations for these kids and go out to shelters to give them out to them and just in the holiday spirit, I think it was a good thing that we did. So that's a project that kind of really struck a chord with me throughout VDY.
Great. Okay, Saki, Hafsa, Matthew, add on?
I could definitely go next. So the project that holds the most significance for me is my fiscally sponsored nonprofit, which is a different avenue of being able to have tax exempt status than 501c3, called Migrant Assisted Pathways. And it's meaningful because it's really based on my personal experiences as a child of immigrants, because our goal is really to help immigrants gain the professional skills that they need to achieve their professional goals. So we help them with things like resumes, We host job fairs and we help them with interview skills. And it's just really been so rewarding to see the impact that I make on people. Um, just last month, we hosted an interview and resume workshop where we were able to help around 30 immigrants at our local at a local church in my town by making them resumes and also helping them with interview skills. And it's just so rewarding. And my parents, when they first came to the United States, they had to kind of seek that help. So we just being able to bring that help to others has been just a really great experience.
All right. First of all, I just wanted to say that Matthew and Sakhi have amazing projects, and it was like very interesting hearing about like the backstories of how y'all came to find your nonprofits. I found that very, very interesting and such an exciting journey that you guys went through. As for myself, a project that I find quite meaningful, it's from a few years ago. But I did a summer program at Washington University in St. Louis. And the whole, I guess, background of coming up with the project was trying to address one of the UN's sustainable development goals and coming up with an idea with a team on how to address one or multiple of those goals while thinking through a social impact and social entrepreneurship lens. So my group came up with the business proposal of a diverse media production company because we understood that there's a gap in representation of I guess diversity in a lot of different forms of media, and just having a production company that focused on directors, actors, actresses, and just stories that had that kind of representation that we saw lacking. We thought that was something that definitely aligned with the goals, but also the kind of entrepreneurial spirit that we were seeking, focused on creativity. So that was definitely very meaningful for me because of my own experiences growing up, not seeing many characters looking like me or coming from similar background as me. So that was definitely a very rewarding project that hit close to home.
Cool. Okay. So the second question is, what motivated you to initiate said project?
Okay, I guess we'll keep in the same sequence. Um, for me, for my nonprofit, really I saw some of my friends have certain hidden disabilities, and some of my family members have disabilities where it puts so much pressure on, their parents that they're not able to devote all of their time to their children, or I see a lot of hidden disabilities within my friends that even I didn't know about. And so when I think of others and I think of, society in general, there's a lot of things that we don't know, especially teenagers and especially children, who are younger. And so what really motivated me to start VDY was looking at all these people and seeing this suffering and isolation due to their disabilities. And there's so much that they can do, but they're restricted in so many ways. And so really my motivation was to kind of meet them and talk to them and see, what we can do as a society and also as just change makers to make them feel better, or push for policy change if we can. A simple thing that I saw is kids who are disabled in lower socioeconomic areas, they don't have access to iPads, which a lot of disabled children need iPads to express themselves. And that was something that was kind of a shock to me because they don't have their basic necessities. Like we have food, we have water. That's, something that they have that they need to express themselves. So really the things that they don't have was what motivated me, and seeing what I could do to make them feel better or to make their families feel less pressurized was really my main motivation and goal.
Okay, I could go next. So From the get-go, I've always been passionate about like immigrant justice and helping immigrants like assimilate to the United States, not only being like a first generation citizen myself and having that personal side where my parents and my relatives are all immigrants, but also like from a research perspective, in my Spanish class, which I've been taking since like the beginning of high school, like we've always been talking about global issues and immigration is one of the biggest issues. So I always knew that I wanted to kind of focus and center my project on like helping immigrants. So then I had to do a lot of research. I want to say we had like at least 9 months of research before even hosting like a single event or like starting to market or brand anything. Um, there was like a lot of research, like going to embassies, asking immigrants directly like what they need when they're coming to America. Also like personal research, asking my parents the struggles that they faced and like talking to people. Like I talked to a staff member at the International Organization for Migration to try to figure out what immigrants need in the United States. And then access to employment was one of the first things that I would hear everyone say. And that kind of sparked something to kind of give immigrants that access.
Um, for me, definitely a lot of the motivation stemmed from my own experiences. Like I said, growing up, not being able to find shows that I could relate to, and then just thinking about the future, hoping that other children don't have to go through those same experiences, but also as an adult, having more media that I can watch and kind of relate to and resonate with. So all of those kind of and as a combination kind of motivated me to initiate this project. And discussing it with my group, we all kind of felt like we were in the same boat, and that we knew that there was gaps within representation in media that we could come together and kind of address. And also, or creativity, that was something really important to me in a project, being able to have that flexibility and kind of share my own ideas in a new way. So all that kind of meshed together, to help initiate this project. So
Great. Okay, so question number 3. How did you approach the planning phase of this project?
So for me, I would say I came up with the idea of my nonprofit. It was a random Wednesday night at 1 a.m. And so it struck to me, I started putting all the puzzle pieces together. And I would say a lot of research and being very nitpicky, just creating a nonprofit. I know there's so many nonprofits, and making one that stands out and really makes an impact in your community is, I think, the one you want to be a part of and the one that you want to lead. And so making sure that it really had an impact and it was not just something I would do for college applications or for, I really want to take this through, even after college and even, when I'm settled down. And to make sure that would happen, even before giving it the title of a nonprofit, I would say I had to do a lot of research, a lot of, seeing, is this something that we really need in our community, or do we have a lot of other nonprofits that could fulfill, what we're looking at, and I could join those. So, but I really saw a need for something like this, especially for teenagers and for people in our age group. And so when I looked through all the statistics and I did all the research, I was like, I didn't know there was so much volume to this problem. And so that's what I would say, just planning it out and looking at it step by step and seeing what events I could do to really make an impact is really what helped me out.
So I definitely agree with what everything that Saki said. You need to make sure that there's a need for your project. Otherwise, it will just become like a carbon copy of everyone else's like nonprofit that's really just an Instagram account that doesn't actually have an impact. Like if you want to make an impact, you need a problem to solve. And then also collaborating and creating like a chain of command is what the first thing that I did when brainstorming how everything was going to work in my organization. I knew that I wanted to host events and also trying to get past the cost of it, because there are obviously organizations that do try to help like immigrants with obtaining jobs in the US, but they either are not free or they're underfunded. So when I was brainstorming, I wanted to make sure that everything that we were doing was something that we could do without having to, fundraise for thousands of dollars or obtain grants for, because that stuff doesn't make it sustainable. Having to keep applying for grants and stuff like that was something that I wanted to avoid. So we decided to kind of target religious places and kind of host our events there, as well as joining community events that are already happening, like ESL classes we have jumped into and kind of, allowed people to work on their interview skills while learning the English language. um Also, I mentioned the chain of command. You really, if you want to expand, you're going to have that set chain of command. So there's me and my co-founder, and then we have an executive board, and then under that there's like different branches. We've expanded to 4 states now, and if you don't have a kind of set organization in your project, it's not going to work out and it'll become kind of chaotic. So we kind of just had to make sure that everything was feasible and logical before actually starting it.
Yeah, for my group and me personally, the planning phase was, I guess, kind of traditional in a sense, all of us sitting together, finding a good time to meet, getting a paper and pen or, our laptops, and just literally brain dumping any thoughts, any ideas, any opinions that we had for this project or anything related to it, kind of gathering all the information in one spot really helped for us to kind of narrow down what kind of trajectory we wanted the project to follow. So it did take a lot of planning beforehand, just like brainstorming, having a good amount of time allocated just towards brainstorming was really important. Once we kind of passed that brainstorming phase, it was very important for us to kind of narrow down and list contacts that we could reach to get more information, since none of us really had a background in like media production, how that kind of worked. We had to do a lot of research on our end to kind of figure out, are there any media companies that specialize in just diversity, from the directors to the actors and actresses and the stories, because there are some media companies that have one or the other but not all throughout their production company. So that was something we also wanted to look at. So it was kind of just listing and calling a lot of different producers and directors and production companies to find out more about this. And then also just kind of surveying fellow students, their own experiences, what they kind of wish to see when it comes to like their own entertainment. So all of those things kind of helped us narrow down and how we kind of wanted to structure the project. So since this project was short term, we only were given a week, it was a lot of hours put into the planning phase initially before we could jump in towards the end of the week to really kind of, come up with our formal business pitch and then present that later on.
That's really interesting. Okay, next. All right. The fourth question is, what was the most significant challenge that you faced during the implementation of said project?
So for us, I think communication, I think as Matthew was saying, the chain of command is really, really important. And I think sometimes, our organization, we started off with very strong foot, me and we had our vice president, we started to recruit people who were interested and who were really enthusiastic about, disabilities and the topic. But somewhere down along the line, sometimes communication was not I guess, direct enough, or we were not able to. Sometimes projects were sitting there for a week and we didn't have anyone working on anything. So sometimes I think really checking in with your team members. And so after that, what we kind of learned is we assigned people to certain people. And what that created was the accountability. So we had accountability partners for all of our teams, and we have about 5 or 6 teams within VDY, which look at, different parts of our organization. And so creating that accountability and creating people that you're looking out for each other, you're making sure you're all on the same page, I think is really what we struggled with initially, but now we're doing much better at. And now I think we saw how to crack the code and how to get past that roadblock. But I think that's, if you're considering creating or, thinking about it, just making sure that your communication is very clear and making sure that you guys are all on the same page and working through, all the projects. And, people are busy and we're all in, school. So we have to be mindful of the projects that we're doing, the timing. And so really bringing everyone together and making sure you have the time to execute it, and also making sure and being, mindful of other people's time and, what they're doing as well.
For me, I think the most significant challenge that I faced, especially at the beginning, was finding kind of venues to host events. So, as like not being a 501(c)(3), which costs money, we also didn't have insurance that also costs like more money. And since we wanted our like nonprofit to be sustainable and be something that we can provide without having costs so that we can provide it like unlimited, it was really hard to find a place that would let us host an event like completely for free without any insurance things or anything, which is why we kind of had to first partner with different nonprofit organizations with similar goals, or partner with religious groups, because a lot of religious groups, especially in my area, are primarily immigrants, and they love like they kind of pride themselves on serving the community. So by targeting like local churches or local temples, we were able to kind of find venues and also build up that brand for ourselves. So after that, we were also able to kind of, join different ESL classes and stuff like that. And so kind of figuring out the logistics was very difficult at the beginning, but once you kind of build that credibility, it gets a lot easier.
I would also kind of agree with Saki. Originally, communication was definitely difficult to kind of maintain since it was a short-term project. It was very important for us to kind of stay on top of everything, in order to prevent, getting behind and not being able to meet our deadline and present or pitch. So we did have like a group chat, but like of course that has its own kind of flaws. If someone doesn't like communicate, check their messages, respond. So that was definitely something initially we struggled with, but once we kind of were on the same page, knew that the deadline was really important for us and that we needed to kind of ensure that we were on target with what we were assigned to like come up with, that kind of helped get everyone on board with doing the research and coming up with the pitch and kind of getting everything done in that short time frame. So that was one of the hardest challenges. But the second challenge was also how we really emphasized that we wanted creativity to be at the forefront of the pitch, but we had to, you know, um, integrate like practicality. And so that was a little bit challenging because none of us had that background with media, like the production side of things. Just kind of researching and knowing that we're putting accurate information into our pitch. That was kind of challenging, balancing that with creativity. So once we're kind of able to get over that roadblock, that was really helpful because we wanted to ensure that we were creative, but we really wanted to make sure that we were highlighting the gap in the market for this, as well as how impactful it is to have diverse representation. So kind of that narrative, how we kind of structure that into our pitch, I think helps with the creative aspect of it.
These are all very valuable insights. Let's move on to the next question. Okay. How would you evaluate the success or the impact of the project?
I think our project, or, we're still going on with our events and our different initiatives that we have, but I think we've been pretty successful and able to impact people in need. And I think really when you go out and see that impact and you're doing, hands-on, like when I went to donate, we were hands-on looking at these kids who are receiving them, and they're all smiling, their little faces lighting up. And so I think that was what just made my day. And I think just going and starting small and then, coming and making it a big organization so you really see who you're impacting is really so insightful, and it motivates you to actually do more. And so once I kind of saw that, I was like, if I can make such a, big impact in someone's just one day for someone, imagine what we could do, times 10 on a bigger scale. And I think we've been pretty successful by the time. There's a lot that I've learned that I would have never learned. It's a long journey and it takes a bit of time, but I think it's really worth it at the end if you're really passionate about what you do and if you really believe, in the cause. Then I definitely think, like, right now we're starting to have technology sessions, something similar to Matthew. We're teaching resume skills to disabled children. We're teaching them how to amplify their LinkedIn profiles. So I'm excited to get that going. So it never stops, but I think if you start small and if you have that hands-on experience, is really what's going to spark your interest, and everyone who's working with you, then that's where the success really starts.
So I definitely agree with everything that Sakhi was saying. At first I did start like small, and I went to all the events that I hosted because it was just me and then my team of people that were basically all from my school. So we hosted a local event, and knowing that every single person I talked to was someone that I could have potentially changed their life by helping them, with their resume or with job interviews, can completely change their career trajectory. Kind of like that idea settling in really showed that my project like was worthwhile and something that was really impactful. And then after that, I did decide to expand. So now we have chapters in New Jersey, New York, Missouri, and in California. And I think that is something that I feel like I could have never imagined, knowing that everything that I was doing is now happening essentially across the country. And knowing that each single person, like, even though it sounds like one person isn't that much, the amount of change that we're making in each person's lives is just crazy. So the fact that I've helped over 90 people throughout my organization is just really crazy to think about. And that definitely feels successful and impactful to me.
So for us, definitely, I guess a more tangible success was receiving an award for a pitch. So we received most creative based on the panel of judges that were a bunch of entrepreneurs. And I think we even had one media producer in there, and then also a professor who's like a former owner, I think, of Max Prep Sports. But anyway, so it was quite nice receiving that award as well, just kind of like an external way of being able to say your project was a success. But I think the real impact really did lie in the conversations it sparked. So diversity in media, like it wasn't just important to me, it was important to everyone in my group. And we later on learned that was also important to like the rest of our peers as well as the judges. So just the conversations it sparked and kind of the connections I was able to make based on that, I think that was really impactful, and being able to kind of meet that other media producer and kind of learn more about the process on kind of implementing such change. So I think just like being able to carry that vision forward, kind of tied in with being able to expand the impact in the future. And so right now I'm kind of dabbling in between like learning more about writing and storytelling and diverse narratives and how that can be kind of just expanded in general. So that's really exciting. And kind of this project sparked that for me. And so, yeah, I'm still exploring it a few years later.
These all sound very awesome. You guys have all done very, very impactful, very amazing work. Big kudos to each and every one of you. Okay, so moving on to our last question. So if given the opportunity to redo this project, what is one aspect that you would change?
Okay. So for us, I think again, reiterating, kind of intervening more and having more early interventions with my team members. And, once you start to grow, you should make sure everyone is on the same page, especially Matthew. I don't know how you do it because you have so many people all across. So it must be a lot of work to getting everyone communicating with each other. But that's something, I mean, not redo, but, think about and making sure everybody's on the same page. Also, I would say, for our donation drive, we had so many donations, but we only had a limited amount of areas or places where we could go donate. So sometimes we didn't have the full list of where we would be donating. So we had 2 or 3 places, but they could only take so much stuff that we had. So really having more nitpicky research, as in if you're donating or if you're sending stuff places, where is the exact location, who can you take, what can you do to maximize the output that you're giving out. So send out as much as time you have and put it out, in the right places. But to be honest, with these mistakes and with these, it's been a learning curve. And so I wouldn't change anything about it. I think it's perfect. And I think I learned so much more by making those mistakes and learning throughout the way. So, yeah.
So as Saki said, obviously, like as your organization grows, it does get like a lot more difficult to manage all the people. So that's why I definitely recommend like having a chain of command. Mine is like made on Canva, so you can actually see the diagram, and I think that was really helpful. But going on to the question, something I would change is honestly just starting earlier. I started doing the research part at the beginning of my junior year. So a lot of the stuff that I accomplished has been like over the summer and in the first few months of my senior year. But if I started earlier, I feel like I could have done it a lot more organized, having a kind of stronger kind of um like set of organization, also just like having people more involved, since a lot of the people that I initially started on my executive board were people like my age. Having them all do it in their senior year kind of was not the best strategy because a lot of people were busy. So if I had started earlier and then they were able to dedicate, more time, they weren't focusing on college applications and stuff like that, it definitely could have had, I think, a much larger impact. Even though I do think my impact was really amazing and it was great to see, I feel like I could have done a lot more given that I had more time and I had my timeline set out from the beginning, because it gets very difficult to balance all of the things going on at once. And yeah.
I would also agree with Saki. I really wouldn't change anything because of how much I learned from this project, the mistakes that we made, the struggles our group encountered, I think all of them, despite the learning curve, did help in having a better understanding. But if I were to go back and redo this project, I definitely would have dived deeper into like the financial planning and scalability of the project. I think that was a really important part of the pitch that or group members and I didn't have too much experience knowing about. So afterwards, after the presentation, discussing it with the judges, that was something they kind of pointed out. And so just going back and spending a bit more time on like the financial breakdown of how we would have made it sustainable would have been really important, kind of understanding the different costs behind it and kind of explaining that better, I think would have been really important at strengthening your pitch and just making it more actionable and like the practical side of it. That's something I would have went back and kind of redone. But as for the creative aspect, I think our team did an amazing job really highlighting the mission of our project in a very creative way that kind of captured everyone's intention. And so that was really important to us. And so glad that kind of worked out, but the more I guess nitty gritty, being able to kind of redo that and have a better understanding would have been nice.
Perfect. Thank you all for sharing your perfect project stories and leadership insights. It was so inspiring to me. Projects can drive the success for ourselves and the change for our entire society. That is why project management needs to be introduced to young students. Now, okay, so now I'd like to invite everyone to collaborate with PM Ready. I okay, so I invite you to contribute an essay to my book project, Youth Voices of Change: Case Studies of Impactful Student Project. This book features essays by youth leaders worldwide, a preface by a founder of project management, and praises from education, business, government, and even military leaders. By contributing an essay, you can become an author, create learning resources for project management education, and share your voices with the global audiences. This publication opportunity is also an empowering experience, as you, our prospective student authors, can access robust supports from free project management training, expert review feedback, publisher editing services, and post publication engagement. So, if you're interested, please submit a brief essay proposal by December 31st, 2024, for the best consideration. The submission link is on the slide, and as of today, we have received proposals from 7 states and 3 countries. So I hope to include diverse youth voices in the book. I also invite you to join PM Ready's Global Ambassador team. So, um, what makes the ambassador role with PM Ready so special are the flexibility that it provides, the unique impact that you can get, and the multiple benefits that you can get. I'm going to take a few seconds for you to read the slide. My other invitation for you is to start your own PM Ready chapter. So as you can see from this slide, we make the application process as easy as possible, as anything can be a project. Your chapter has the flexibility to identify any initiative needed for your community, as long as you integrate project management learning in your chapter initiative. Not to mention, PM Ready provides training, assistance, and consultant to support the start and management of your local chapter. So start a PM Ready chapter and become the chapter president today. And last but not least, I invite you to enroll in the online course I designed, Project Management for Youth. It is an online, self-paced course with diverse and interactive learning activities. It also provides a comprehensive introduction to project management. We also provide learning supports to help to ensure that you make the most out of this course. You may use the link on the site to register for the course, and please note the course requires a registration fee. However, it is free for PM Ready ambassadors and people who meet certain eligibility requirements. All right, so let's oh, okay. So let's move on and open the floor to Q&A. Okay, so I'm gonna give priority to the people that has asked questions in the middle of. Okay, so the first question that I see is from Deborah. How were you three able to put such awesome projects together? Did it involve a lot of research beforehand? And if so, how were you able to come up with feasible solutions to the problems you saw?
Um, okay, I guess I can go first of all. I think I kind of touched upon it a little bit, but just to kind of reiterate again, it did require research beforehand, just like in the planning phase and kind of throughout the project. But because it was so short term, it was definitely not extensive research, which I wish, of course, it would, if it was a longer project, we would have put in more research behind how like production companies kind of originate and how they structure themselves and everything that kind of entails. And as for coming up with feasible solutions, it was a lot of just conversations. I guess just talking to like a diverse group of people, really listening to their story, their experiences. I think that's like the foundation, and then kind of going from there to kind of structure a project. So I think that was really important.
I could go next. So, definitely putting it together took a lot of research beforehand. Like I mentioned, we researched for around 9 months before even putting anything like into like actual planning and starting to have things like actually happen. So research was definitely like my best friend throughout the process. And it really helped me kind of know exactly where I wanted to take my organization and how to do it. Another thing that really helped me expand was a fellowship I did. It was the Civic Innovators Fellowship by Civics Unplugged, and there was around 350 other people that were also interested in impacting their communities. And joining programs like I did, or I know Hafsa joined her pitch program, networking is a great way to expand your organization. That's how I got it to 4 states, as well as through LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a amazing tool for expanding and finding other youth leaders that are driven to make a change. So that's kind of how I did it. And for the problems that I saw, coming up with solutions really just took, thinking and planning and making sure that everything made sense before actually starting anything.
I completely agree with both Hafsa and Matthew. I think research was really what, and I think Hafsa mentioned like a brain dump. And so that's what I did. And it took us about 4 months before we put anything into like finalized writing and starting the nonprofit. But looking at what your community already has and really what they need, because your nonprofit is going to be what your community needs. And so if that's a big of, so big that it can have a really big impact, I think that's your starting point. And then, I called around all the other nonprofits and also the big organizations for disabilities and, asking them and calling actually disabled children, their parents, and saying, what are the gaps? What do you guys need? And so based on that, we kind of created a framework and had a whole, wrote everything down. And that's how we really started. And I think, again, with then creating our Instagram and LinkedIn, reaching out to people and putting yourself out there is, the biggest thing that you can do to attract more people to your, your organization, and also to give yourself an opportunity to meet other people who are like-minded and who also want to create change. So I think social media is your best friend. Networking is your best friend. Talking to other people and learning, and then also making sure that you've done your basic groundwork to make sure that your nonprofit is able to succeed.
Okay, great. We are running a little bit close on time, but we have a bit more time. So our next question is, did a particular issue stick out for you guys? Was there a time where it seemed like you had to choose to work on a particular project rather than another? Also, I love the passion with which you guys express how much these issues related to you, leading to create those projects.
I guess I will go with this one. I think it was definitely after kind of knowing that we chose our project topic, like what our business pitch was and all of that. I think somewhere amidst the research, we kind of knew, okay, this is more complicated than we thought because there's so much that goes on behind a production company, just how it starts and everyone that kind of partakes in that, how much money it involves. So whenever we kind of were doing our research, we kind of stumbled upon that. And so it was a lot to kind of really like grasp and kind of wrap our minds around. So that was a little bit of a challenge. But definitely with the time frame, we were able to get, I guess, a good basic understanding of it to make our pitch and really focus on like the creative side of it, what we're trying to address. And so I think it all kind of worked out in the end, but definitely sometimes when you approach something that's very novel and there's no expertise, it can be kind of difficult overcoming that. So that's why I do really recommend if there is someone that you can kind of reach out to or connect with that is like an expert in a certain topic or subject, that can be an invaluable asset. So definitely that's something I learned.
So I can go next. I feel like I knew from the get-go that, focusing on immigrants and helping them assimilate was something that was just obviously like my thing. I never really had any other like kind of like that's kind of like the main goal I think that drives me to like be who I am and do the work that I do. I'm going to Princeton for international affairs, and it's really because the issue of immigration is something that has impacted me personally, and it's something that I think is a problem that I want to kind of, deal with in my career. So it's kind of always been the issue that stuck out to me. There hasn't really been any other issues. I mean, there have been things that I've worked on, but nothing that I've started as an initiative just because this like has that personal tie to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think starting off with something that really affects you and that you see that is a problem and that you truly believe in, it really shines through your work, I think. And what you're passionate about really, you can see when someone's really passionate, you can see it through how they speak about it. So really finding that your niche and finding that topic that sticks with you. And then, looking at the question where choosing, which project to work on one than the other. I think devoting your time, I know everyone has busy schedules, but setting aside some time for some project and a little time for another is what's going to help you most. Or even if your teammates can pitch in and help you with, one project. But it sometimes can be really hard because you're passionate about something, but you also want to work on something else. But maybe creating a timeline for your projects so that you know that you want to work on this one first, finish it, and then work on another one. So really, I think time management and also looking at what really you care about.
Okay, I totally agree. Okay, so really quickly, our last question is, Hafsa, can I ask which pitch competition that you took part in again?
Yeah, of course. So it was a few years ago at Washington University in St. Louis, and I think it was called the Olin Fletcher Business Scholars Program. Mhm.
Okay, so before we leave, let me just um before we leave, let's not forget our raffle, and I will use a uh okay, I will use I will use a wheel to pick who will be our three lucky winners. So okay, so our first winner is, let's see who will be. Grace, congratulations. Our second winner will be Mariana. Good job. And our last winner will be Niners. Congratulations to all the winners. You three will win a PM Ready tote bag and a PM Ready Spirit shirt. I will be mailing your prizes out. All right, so let me just go back to the presentation and okay. So thank you so much for coming, everyone. To stay in contact with us, we can feel free to follow our Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube, connect on LinkedIn, and also visit pmready.org if you're interested in any of the collaboration with PM Ready. So thank you everyone for coming. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great holiday.